Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to unofficially begin a new season here within the E-Motorsports Network and the NASCAR Series, and there's no better place to do it than at the World Center of Racing in Daytona Beach, Florida. Good evening, folks, and welcome aboard our first live production here on YouTube and on the iRacing platform. Now live, as you can see it on the screen. We're here, as I said, to unofficially begin a new season, and it all starts tonight, qualifying for the 6th annual GTR Daytona 250 single car qualifying and the GTR Duel at Daytona. Once again, good evening, folks, and welcome aboard here tonight. Here we are in the broadcast booth. The voice you're hearing right now on the left side is Regan McCauley, here for my 4th season with the E-Motorsports Network and the NASCAR Series. On the other side, Jordy Kerher, both of us from broadcasting from the province of Prince Edward Island in Canada on the East Coast. And I guess the most fair way to put it with Jordy is you're one of the Iron Men of the E-Motorsports Network, along with some of our drivers that are still with us here for their 6th season in the NASCAR Series. You've been through it all ever since the very beginning. You have stuck it out with us every single season, and it just goes to show how far we've come here with the E-Motorsports Network, especially too with this brand change now that we don't have the Canadian term with our brand moving forward for season 6. So again, I suppose on your end, it's hard to believe how far we've come, eh?
Yeah, it's been a constant evolution, and yeah, like you said, it's gonna take a little bit of getting used to not drop the Canadian in the name anymore. But you know what, we did our test sessions last week, and I think we both got away clean there somehow. So
yes,
you know what, keep going on that side of things. I know personally for me, I'm still wound up after watching the Masters yesterday, and I'm hoping tonight will provide a similar level of excitement as we get season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network's Crown Jewel series underway.
Absolutely. And so, yes, last week, you could argue we unofficially got the season underway last week, although more in a private manner, as we had some private preseason test races at the Michigan International Speedway and also the Iowa Speedway, and we had about 13 cars or so per race, and drivers, getting behind the wheel, getting comfortable with each other. Again, for the first time in a couple months, we had a couple new drivers come in, and starting off hot in first place, the driver of the number 13 car, Jared Ireland, out of Eudora, Kansas, driving for Blue Collar Racing this season, sponsoring Boot Hill Distillery, top of the board, getting a victory at Michigan in race number 1. And then we saw the number 3 of the rookie from Graham, North Carolina, Blake Thronberg, driving for Backrow Motorsports, sponsoring Thronberg Construction and Fat Boy Designs, taking home the victory at Iowa. Adam Wilson, and another rookie, Mario Ercolini, and veteran Sidney Mangrum in there in top 5. A lot of these guys you can see are some familiar names. We got some new faces in there as well. But last week drivers came through and kind of shook off the rust to get ready for this 6th season.
Yeah, and it was a good opportunity to actually see how our new drivers would integrate as well. Largely a returning field, it has to be said. But, you look at guys like Thronberg and Ercolani right off the hop here, they acquitted themselves well in those test sessions. And we should note that we made the point to go to tracks that we won't be seeing during the regular season for this. And yeah, obviously, they've acquitted themselves well, and I'm looking forward to seeing their progress over the course of the year.
And so, moving on from there to now tonight at the Daytona International Speedway, here is your 2025 E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series Season 6 schedule. And we went over it last week when we were doing our little test broadcasts and such, and our drivers happened to be the audience. 14 regular season races, 7 playoff races, 3 rounds, championship race back at Phoenix Raceway for the first time since season 1. Of course, starting things off at Daytona with the traditional GTR 250. But I must say, through all of our off-season discussions and putting this thing together and then eventually revealing it out to the world, must say, especially with this driver group that we have for season 6, definitely one of the more competitive and intense schedules that we certainly are looking forward to out of all the ones that we've had in our history.
Yeah, I mean, twists and turns all the way through. Really, we've mentioned, we talked a lot last week about the fact that we're looking at, I believe, 5 street or road circuits in this schedule as well. So lots of variety between, all the different track types. And that was kind of one of the biggest things from season 5 as well. And just reinforced in season 6, just having the idea that you really need to be a complete driver to take home the Earl Ross Cup in this series. And I'm looking forward to seeing who's able to stand out in, give or take 5 months time.
Indeed. Again, starting things off here tonight unofficially, the Daytona Duels, the qualifying races, single car qualifying 30-lap dual races. Daytona Auto Club going to go back-to-back to start off the regular season for the first time back since season 4. I got Sergey Gilles Villeneuve in there and Monza as the 2 international tracks, going to be going to Montreal for the first time in the NASCAR series. And then Monza makes the return, of course, after last season. And just look at the playoff rounds, especially like Bristol and Kansas round of 12, Dover, Talladega round of 10. Then you got the Roval road course there at Charlotte, and then Las Vegas for the round of 8, and then like Watkins Glen, like Chicago, Darlington, Watkins Glen to end off the regular season finale. Like that little stretch right there certainly is going to be a lot of looking forward to.
Yeah, and again, you throw in the element of Darlington being our throwback race this year as well, and that just gives an extra thing to look forward to as we progress. And, at that point, we'll have a much better sense of where the overall competition is going to be. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how we get to that point, because based on the overall quality of drivers, I don't think anybody's going to be safe here, Riggs.
No, absolutely not. And of course, talking about a schedule, of course, we can't forget all the countless sponsors and partners that have hopped on board with us either for the first time or once again here within the E-Motorsports Network and for Season 6 of the NASCAR Series. Man, oh man, what an accomplishment it is that we have a sponsor for every single race this season.
Yeah, I mean, that support has been really the bedrock of the E-Motorsports Network since day one. And the fact that we've been able to make some kind of competitions within the competitions as well during the season, like that's just going to add further incentive over the course of the year. And yeah, the fact that we've got a number of groups or companies in this case sponsoring multiple races as well, like that shows the overall level of support and dedication that we've been able to build up on this side of things, and we are grateful for it.
Indeed, and some of our sponsors have also hopped on board for some, I suppose you can call them contingencies, some extra prizes throughout the races, including the fastest lap from Repu Links, and then from Mark Ouellette, courtesy of him, Lil Rescue, Reptile Rescue. It is the Lucky Turtle in real life called the... Yes, I do too. The Lucky Dog in real life, but of course, coming from Lil Rescue, the Lucky Turtle. It only makes sense.
It's fantastic, and I can't wait to see this integration in play. And once you guys see the animation attached to this, I think it's going to be a fan favorite.
Indeed. So just quickly looking back here just to get some little more information on this stuff. Obviously, with the Lucky Turtle, during each caution during a race, the first driver lap down will be quote-unquote rescued by, the turtle's name is Audrey, and will get their lap back. And then going back to the fastest lap very quickly, each driver who clocks the fastest lap during a race will earn a bonus point in the championship standings. And then returning as a sponsor for a couple of races and also the pole award after being also a title sponsor for our series last season, they will fuel the action as the title sponsor of our weekly pole award. So the fastest qualifier will earn the pole award and the right to lead the field from the front.
Yeah, and again, great to see these added sponsor integrations. And who knows, that fastest lap additional point, that could very well come into play toward the end of the regular season.
And then, courtesy of Tom Janikowski, we had the Zesty Paws Challenge at Charlotte Motor Speedway June 16th, the Chicago Street Course July 14th, and at Bristol Motor Speedway on August 4th.
Yeah, and as you say, shout out to Tommy for getting this integration together as well. And what a collection of tracks there, hey? Especially given the significance of Chicago and Bristol as they're positioned over the course of the season. And of course, we know the overall significance of Charlotte as well, just that overall grind.
I mean, that's not even all. We decided to throw kind of a season into a season here, kind of a bracket thing with the in-season tournament presented by Fort River Brewing Company, where through round 6 through 10, drivers are going to go head-to-head in a bracket-style tournament. The tournament winner is going to be crowned at Richmond at the Repu Links 150 on June 30th. And we've already gotten a couple compliments and shoutouts from drivers saying this is going to add a lot more to the entire championship battle and trying to make your way into the playoffs and such during the season anyways. The NASCAR Cup Series is going to be doing this in real life as well around the midpoint of the season or so. So it only makes sense for us to give it a shot in there as well. Have a little bit of a bracket thing, March Madness style.
Yeah, just because we can't use that absolutely trademark term. And, you know, we're very much not doing this in March either. It's through June, which, I mean, that can be a little bit of a long month for folks as we make the transition from spring to summer. So add a little bit of spice to the competition over the course of those 5 races.
Absolutely, and we are just about set to transition here to the racetrack for single car qualifying for the GTR Daytona 250. But of course, we can't leave out the drivers themselves. These right here are all the faces, the 26 drivers that are going to compete for the 6th annual Earl Ross Cup here in Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. This is our most drivers in a couple of seasons.
Yeah, Season 2, we got up to 30, but we saw a bit of a drop off or a bit of attrition over the course of the year, certainly. But, you know, I think in the iRacing era, I feel like this is the most. And again, that speaks to the effort that, you know, folks behind the scenes have been putting in to, you know, encourage the continued growth of the series. And as you mentioned, I've been here since day one. It's been amazing to see it all unfold.
Yeah, I was back during your times, and then as I trickled into the network where the overall numbers were in the 30s back in the console days, and once we got to iRacing, there was a little bit of a drop because, of course, that transition between console and the computer, the iRacing service, certainly a little bit turbulent, but nonetheless, we've been trending upwards since then, so obviously that is a positive. We had a total of 25 drivers last season, so we're up by 1. That is obviously promising. For each of these drivers, we are going to discuss them, introduce each and every one of them individually through single car qualifying in just a couple of minutes. But to kind of wrap up one more thing here in the pre-race show, a little bit of a driver map. Might as well give you an idea of the parity and the diversity that we have to offer here. Again, removing the Canadian name out of the E-Motorsports Network term, it only makes sense because you look at all the kind of the pins in the United States. We have, I believe, 18 Americans, and then the rest are Canadians of the 26 drivers that we have for Season 6. And, I mean, you may look at some of the Canadian provinces and see that they may have, like, the most number of drivers within that area. But, again, you have to compare that to all the state names that are all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always been sort of an East Coast concentration as well, given the race times that have been set. But, you know, having guys in the Midwest and then a couple Matt McDonald debuting in the Prairies this year, and then Ryan O'Toole being back in Oregon, you know what? We've got a little bit of a reach here, and I am looking forward to seeing how everybody comes together under the name of the overall racing flag here.
And we're hoping all of them are together here tonight as we are about to get set to qualify for the 6th annual GTR Daytona 250. Jordy, you had that broadcast, or I don't know if I'd say broadcast, but you had that stream last...
The mini show, yeah.
Yes, the mini show. There you go, where you determined through a random generator, put all these names, kind of funneled them all together. And this is the order that you got for single car qualifying. So it's going to be 1 lap each out of every driver. And so All of them are going to qualify. Every one of them that we have here tonight are going to qualify, and the top 2 best qualifiers are going to automatically lock on to the front row for the GTR Daytona 250 next Monday night. Everybody else, the odd number positions are going to be the lineup for Duel 1. Even numbers are going to go into Duel 2, and that is how we're going to set the lineups there. Duel 1, inside row. Duel 2, outside row.
Yeah, and again, one lap pace has always been interesting to monitor over the course of the years in the NASCAR series. And again, the fact that we've got new guys will be interested in getting sort of that first sense officially of where everyone's going to stack up. And yeah, first official taste of racing this year as well with those duels, like you mentioned. So I don't see much sense in waiting a whole lot longer, Riggs. Let's rock.
Indeed, we are now live here at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. We have just given the drivers the good to go, and unfortunately, there was a bit of an issue in between the session here and when it began compared to us wanting to begin our broadcast. So we might as well do this now. Wait for it. There we go.
Hey!
This will be a lot better from next week onward. We'll put it that way.
Okay, right on.
So yeah, thanks to GTR Motorsports for hopping on as the title sponsor for single car qualifying and the GTR Duel, the 230 lap races to set the GTR Daytona 250 starting lineup for next Monday night.
All right, it's showtime.
Indeed it is. So just waiting for this first car to pop out on track and get us underway to decide the front row for Monday. There's the first mistake. The first mistake, getting used to that change too. The brand change and then the night change. Yes, you read my mind.
All right, sir. It looks like we're headed down to North Carolina to start this show.
Indeed. We have the driver from Wendell, North Carolina. He's driving for Storm Surge Esports, the number 15 Toyota. That is third-year driver Kyle Knoll.
Yeah, he was a guy who came over when we made the transition to iRacing, and he's a guy who's had his share of progression over the last couple of seasons. A guy who's not afraid to take bold chances strategically, and a guy who can be fast in the right situations. So we'll see what Kyle's capable of here as he officially lays down a marker for the rest of the field.
So again, 1 lap per car. You got to make it count in just 1 lap, especially if you want to lock yourself a spot on the front row for next Monday night again in the GTR Daytona 250, our crown jewel event for every single NASCAR series season.
100%. And for Kyle here, again, we talked about the progression that he's had. He was 15th overall in season 4 and was able to crack the round of 12 last year before ultimately bowing out in 11th place. So yeah, we'll see if season 3 is able to get him into single digits.
Always has been a heavy hitter through pretty much every single race that he's been involved in. Just has been so on the cusp of finally getting that victory. It's been a little overdue, but no doubt season 6 could be when it gets done as he comes to the line. 49.682 looks to be the time. Indeed.
All right. Yeah, so that's the first kind of indicator of what we're looking at tonight. We'll see if the time comes down here at all over the course of the evening.
And, of course, another very important note about tonight's format, of course. When we get to the dual races, points, championship points to be specific, will be on the line. So the top 10 finishers in each of the 30-lap dual races are going to get points that will matter when it comes to the championship. So later in the season, you never know. We could end up going back to tonight and saying this easily played a factor in how things will play out throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a good jumping off point for our drivers as we see Will Kern about to get his lap underway. But looking at the grand scheme of things, again, 26 drivers in the field this year. 20 of them are going to wind up with at least 1 point right away. So again, nice jumping off points, but maybe not as crucial or pronounced right now as it could be, in a few months' time, end of July, start of August, when things get serious.
The driver of the number 31 car to Dansville, New York for Hyperdrive Esports. That's William Kern in the Toyota. Made 6 starts last season. Sponsors Pride and Trust Painting, Carter Racing Paints, and Red Jacket.
All right, yeah, he's sponsored by Red Jacket, but he's looking to be first to take the green flag here. We'll see if old Willie's got some speed in his first full season in the E-Motorsports network, because it was a partial entry last season.
Yeah, as you were talking about last night, discussing each of the drivers that came up whenever they were drawn. Came to us about midway through the season or so. I believe it was around Charlotte, if I recall correctly. And right off the bat, showed a lot of speed, lots of potential, and was, I believe, pretty solid over in IndyCar as well.
Yeah.
So this guy in a full season, don't count him out.
Well, you can count him at the top of the board.
Yes, 49.524.
All right, so that's about a 10.5 up on Kyle Knoll's original marker. So that's going to put a new guy at the head of the field.
So not too shabby for the 31. So theoretically, both drivers are still eligible to get on the front row, as only 2 cars have gone.
Yeah.
But Bryce Fontaine will look to change that in his number 22 Eternal Racing Toyota out of Laverne, Tennessee, with EternalRacing.com, TripleStinRacing.com, and iStats on the car. He also, similar situation to Will Kern, last year arrived to the network about midway or so through the season. He also impressed, along with over an IndyCar as well.
Yeah, I might have to take another look at this. I was thinking that Bryce was still also a hyperdrive guy along with Will Kern and Mason Tomlinson. We'll have to confirm that later, but yeah, we'll see what Fontaine's
able to do.
Hyperdrive.
Yeah, I have the wrong name in here, so we'll quickly fix that. There we go. That's better.
There we go. Yeah, they were teammates last year as well, so it makes sense that would continue, especially, and that's something we should point out here, Riggs. We got a 6-team competition this season as well. Haven't really touched on that. But certainly plenty of time to talk about that as Fontaine's making his way through 3 and 4. We'll see if he's able to better the time set by his hyperdrive teammate Will Kern as he comes down the back straight up to the top of the tri-oval, and he's going to break the beam at 49.538. So 15 thousandths off of Will Kern's time, so the 31 retains the pole position right now.
So that eliminates Kyle Knoll from a top 2 spot. So he will have to figure out his starting spot for next week's GTR Daytona 250 in the duels later on. So Fontaine, Kern and Fontaine both remain eligible. So yeah, front 2 for hyperdrive so far. And then we get to a rookie.
Yeah, we're headed up almost toward our way here, Riggs. We're headed up to Maine, specifically Parsonsville, Maine, for the debut, or Parsons Field, excuse me, for the debut of the number 29 Toyota of Mario Ercolani, and he's another member of the GTR family, Riggs.
He's one of the newer drivers to the team alongside Justin Belmonte as well, joining the 6-year driver Jose Mercado. And just like Blake Throneberg, as we were talking about last week for the preseason test races, Ercolini also showed some pretty good speed.
Yeah, he was running toward the head of the field in both races, converted the finish in the first one, but I believe got caught up in a wreck in the second race. So a little bit of a mixed bag for the 29, but it's just him on the track here now. We'll see what he's able to do under his own power.
Ercolini does some racing in real life. Helps the brother-in-law in super late models as well.
Okay, right on. Yeah, he did mention that there was a real-life tie there, so good to expand on that.
It's always nice to have drivers come through that have some sort of involvement on the real-life side of things as well. As Ercolini will put up a time, 49.566. That will put him over Knoll, but not enough for a front row spot, so he'll have to race in the duels.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another opportunity for him to kind of get acquainted within the E-Motorsports network bubble, so to speak. And like we said, he acquitted himself well early on. Maybe the race pace will turn out a little bit better than the one-lap pace.
Fifth driver to go, the number 7 out of Dayton, Ohio for 519E Racing, making his return to the team after last year starting off with them and then halfway through changing things up, but back where he first started things off with Atlassian, I believe is how you say the
Atlassian, yeah.
Atlassian, yes, on the car, Duracell on the back as well. That is fifth-year driver Andy Hurdle. Picked up a long overdue first career victory in the NASCAR series last season at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the 300.
Yeah, and another guy who's shown season over season improvement as well. So finished 13th in season 2 when he made his debut, missed the playoffs in season 3. But once we made the move to iRacing, that gave Andy Hurdle much more comfort. So finished 10th in season 4 and then got into the round of 8 last season. Gave the championship 4 a scare, but ultimately wound up finishing 6th. So we'll see if this is the year that Hurdle takes that next big step.
And the year where he can get back-to-back GTR Daytona 250 poles.
Yes, that's a very fair point here as well. He was the big dog in the qualifying session that we're in right now. And we'll, have to see if he's got that same pace this time around.
He has a couple career top 5 finishes at the Daytona International Speedway, but does not have yet to get a win.
But he does have the pace tonight.
Yeah, there we go. 49.502. Looking to go back-to-back on the top spot. Not have to worry too much about the duel, other than maybe the whole points thing with the top 10 finishers. But nonetheless, starting things off strong just like he did last season, if it holds.
Yeah, and I mean, he's following in the footsteps of the real-life contemporaries. On the F1 side, the Williams team looks fast this year, and if you notice, that is another emulation of the Williams livery, that Andy Hurdle's running. So good to see that's translating, and good to see another former champ back.
Yes, sir. From season 4, the driver of the number 48 from Allendale, Michigan, driving for Blue Collar with Coors Light on the car, Scott Bailey. Welcome back to the E-Motorsports Network.
Yeah, and for Scotty, he has been dangerous anytime he's been on the track, whether it was in the console era or the iRacing era. Of course, he's our first iRacing era champion. Second all-time in victories in the series with 11, and that's over the course of 3 seasons because he didn't do season 3 or 5. Let's see if he gets season 6 off with a bang.
Yes, sir. Very successful on the console side, and then joined us for 1 season on iRacing, now here for round number 2. On the iRacing side of things, looking to start his return to the series strong.
And I'm telling you this as well, Riggs. I'm looking forward to seeing how his partnership with Jared Ireland works out. That blue collar racing team, look out.
Oh, yeah, especially on the intermediates, because a guy like Jared Ireland, Bailey could take a lot of tips from him when it comes to, tire saving, pit strategies, because Ireland is quite the guy at those things.
Yeah, Bailey's no slouch either, though. Let's see what he's got at the line.
I remember he and Corbin McCauley had a lot of spirited feuds on some of the bigger tracks. When he was back racing, and Bailey's going to go to 4th with a 49.554, so he will have to have his starting position next week determined in a duel.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about Scotty here, though. He's always been a guy who's been much better over the course of like the full race distance. So not necessarily worried if maybe he's a little bit further down the field here tonight. I've got confidence that he'll eventually work his way up.
And this guy will certainly look to work his way up to the top of the charts here, get over Andy Hurdle, the 21. Second-year driver from Laurel, Delaware for Tornado Alley Racing. Our first driver here from Tornado Alley, that is Adam Wilson, driving the white Budweiser, Bud King of Beers Camry. 7th in points last season. Picked up a surprise win at Dover in a way, if we again think back to what happened with Justin Belmonte and Corbin McCauley in those final couple laps. Although, with that being said, Wilson was right there, ready to pounce at those two got together, and he capitalized.
100%. I mean, he was a guy who very early on showed that he was gonna make himself a prominent figure in the series as well, and getting that goose egg broken as quickly as he did at Dover, that's, not necessarily a warning shot to the rest of the field, but it was an arrival, so to speak. And the fact that he was able to hang on as long as he did, I'm looking forward to seeing how he's progressed over the months since everybody's been racing together. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how the 21 kicks this season off.
Yeah, just fell short of the championship for last year, but no doubt that he is going to be a weekly contender as he will come to the line. To the top.
Yeah, bud. Let's go. Nice to see some movement, and yeah, Adam Wilson right to the top of the board, like you said. And he's got a couple of Tornado Alley teammates coming and a couple of former champions in his wake as well. Not to mention, the overall depth of field. We'll see how long this time holds up. Speaking of former champs,
you said it last night. In your words, this guy has been snake bitten from victory lane since the season 2 finale at Las Vegas, when he won his last and only championship so far in the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series. The driver from Harrington, Prince Edward Island, he's been here since the very beginning. He's driving for Atlantic Motorsports, the number 64 Ford, Forked River Brewing Company on there. That is Darcy Ford.
Yeah, season 2 champ, tied for 3rd all time with 10 victories. All of those came in the console era, so that's sort of the caveat around Darcy Ford. The racecraft has always been there, but certainly the transition from the console era to the iRacing side of things, season 4 was admittedly more difficult for him. I think he'd be the very first to say that, but finally started to get his footing with it last year. And now that he's, I would presume, more comfortable with it now, I think you could see the 64 finally break through again.
Oh, absolutely. This could very well be the breakout season for Darcy Ford, also a former GTR Daytona 250 winner back in season 2. Again, yeah, a series champion, GTR 250 champion within the same season.
Yeah, not a bad little bookend there when the first and last races, part of the 6 wins he had over the course of that season too.
Yeah, and he would be the only driver ever to, win the GTR 250 and the championship finale in the same season.
Yeah, and I mean, he's off to a good start now. Not quite the top, but very competitive time.
Yeah, not too far off there with his negative 0.03. 49.505 puts him in 3rd place. 0.03 of a second short of Andy Hurdle.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that we're looking at, 0.2 separating all of our 8 drivers so far, I think that speaks to, again, the overall parity within the series, and we'll see if our series founder in his big return is able to do something about this.
Yes, sir. Took a break last season, but back at it for his 5th season, the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. The man, the myth, the legend who founded this whole operation back in 2020 at the Holland College Athletics Department. He comes from Stanshell, Prince Edward Island, driving for Team Penske North, kind of the Austin Cindric-esque car. Rusty Wallace fan in real life.
Yes.
Discount Tire, Snap-on, Menards, Freightliner, Auto Trader, pretty much everything you can find on a number 2 Penske car. That is Daniel Cudmore.
Yeah, Penske North in this case. But we'll see if how far north Dan Cudmore can get up our leaderboard here, and just kind of keep things on the rails here as he wants to make a statement that he's well and truly back, because he's a multiple time playoff performer over the years. Didn't necessarily take to the iRacing transition straight away, but after a year away, maybe that's the refresh he needs.
The 2 words I think of with this guy, especially at super speedways, patience and conservation. Commonly early on, you'll see a guy like Cudmore kind of hang around the back and let the things unfold in front of him and try to capitalize on other drivers' misfortunes. And plenty of times it's worked, plenty of times it hasn't. So hopefully, finally, he'll be able to break through, make his way into the playoffs again for the first time in a little while. 49.595, that will be good enough for 8th out of 9 cars so far.
But still within that overall range that we've seen over the course of the first third of our qualifiers, now that we've gotten to that point. And we should note, it's great to see that our entire 26 car field is present here now.
Yes. Yeah, love to see it.
Just as we love to see driver 10 in position 10 here.
Yes, sir. Another Ironman of the NASCAR Series, year 6 from London, Ontario for 5190 Racing. The number 10, Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, Rampage Coffee Co., Bangerang Hard Seltzer, and Forked River Brewing Company Chevrolet is driven by Jason Butler. Best points finish a 13th back in 2023, 20th last season.
Yeah, should also be noted, multiple time Daytona pole sitter, but that was at the 200 race distance, not the 250. So different format to what we're seeing tonight, but a guy who's still capable of putting together one lap speed when he needs it.
Yeah, poles at Daytona, Talladega, plenty of good finishes as well.
Yeah, he enjoys his super speedways, just, keep the cats away from him on starts. So he'll make it 10 drivers to put up a time, and then 16 more to go. Yeah, Butler really hugging that inside line here. We'll see what kind of effect that has as he comes out of 4. Seeing if he's able to get a decent exit. Usually you would say, shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. We'll see what Butler's got.
8th.
Okay, displaces Dan Cudmore by 4 or 5 thousandths of a second. So again, literally every time increment counts here, as our defending champion knows all too well.
Yes, he was finally able to make that crucial moment count in last season's finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. The driver of the number 17 Macaulay Racing Chevrolet at a Charlottetown PEI with McKinnon Bros Service Center, Shaw's Towing, Cavendish Farms, and Bolger Motorsports on the car. Corbin Macaulay looking to go back, become the first back-to-back NASCAR Series champion. Still looking for that first Daytona win. He is the defending Talladega winner, though.
Yeah, and sporting a new look with the livery last year. He had the mean green machine going, but yeah, very different look this year. We'll see if he's able to produce the same results.
He has one career podium finish, a couple top 5 finishes at Daytona, one pole, one win at Talladega.
But the biggest thing about him is, he's been strong regardless of the platform, which is a very good reason why he's our all-time leader in victories with 20 and poles with 21. So 17 looking to add to his significant hardware case over there, and one wall over from you. And we'll see if he's able to get off on the right foot here so far as he makes his approach to the line.
At the line. Ooh, barely off of first. Barely. But that eliminates Andy Hurdle from a front row spot. So that'll put Corbin with Adam Wilson to lock up the front row provisionally.
Yeah, Wilson's time's holding up here in the early going. Well, not even early going now. We're getting close to the halfway point.
And as we get closer to that halfway point, we have the driver of the number 60 car, third-year driver from Pachigo, New York. Driving for GTR Motorsports on the car, Team Watson Racing Setups and Warrior Wraps. A four-time winner in the series, Justin Belmonte.
Notably including a Daytona 250 win as well. And that was a heck of a debut from the, at the time, number 6, sporting a new number this season, but certainly a significant way to announce his presence on this side of things, and the first ever iRacing victory as well. So Belmonte proving to be very capable. Just had a little bit of a slip last year in terms of just races missed in the regular season. Otherwise, absolutely a playoff caliber driver, as we witnessed with a win during the playoffs outside of that picture. But yeah, with a new focus, new number, let's see if Justin Belmonte can dial up something special.
Yeah, fantastic start to his NASCAR Series career back in Season 4 with back-to-back victories, both coming against Corbin McCauley. And then last season, as you said, attendance wasn't perfect in the regular season, but he was still able to come through in the playoffs and be the best of the rest champion, which obviously that will be back for Season 6, where all the drivers who do not make the playoffs, all their points are going to reset for those final 7 races, and whoever accumulates the most points will claim best of the rest honors and 13th place in the standings, and then everyone else is just going to be based on overall points. Over the season, as Belmonte will come to the line as the 12th car to set a lap. 9th.
Yeah, identical time to what Mario Ercolani posted, but since Mario posted first, he gets the priority of position.
So that's our first tie. As you said, Ercolani will claim it. And then here's the Lucky Turtle.
Yeah, very much hoping to be a water-based turtle rather than getting beached on land, but looking to make his mark here. Pardon the pun on the name. Is of course Mark Ouellette. I did not think of that until it came out of my mouth. Good to see his. Come on. Anyway, as we maintain a level of professionalism here, that's what Mark Ouellette has been ever since he joined the E-Motorsports network. Nothing short of professional all the way around in terms of how he's handled himself on track, how he's handled interactions. He's a guy that he's one of those character guys that every series would love to have, and I for one would love to see him take a step forward this season as he begins his hot lap.
I mean, to try and get the job done at the World Center of Racing, what better way to start off the sophomore season? There is a such thing as the term sophomore slump, but there's also sophomore surge, so hopefully that's what the number 80 car in North Bay, Ontario for First Gear Racing puts together. 18th in points last season, also participated with us on the IndyCar side, and yeah, personality, absolutely, it's a pleasure to have it here with us. It's always great to have the simultaneous great personalities and talented drivers. And hopefully 100%. He'll be able to, and he's been improving every single race. He's always putting in that commitment, that effort to improve no matter where he's going, as he's going to put up a time, 49.683. That is the bottom of the board, so that didn't exactly age perfectly well, but again, it's just single car qualifying. Try to put some speed through the duel, and again, it's next Monday that truly matters.
Yeah, and I mean, it's only 1/1000th off of Kyle Knowles' time at the very beginning of the session. So, a guy he's right in that kind of statistical dispersion, I guess is the term that I'm looking for, in terms of being in that kind of comfortable range with everybody. So good to see.
Now to a driver in year number 4 out of Atlanta, Georgia, the next Tornado Alley e-racing driver. The number 1 Nordic Aluminum Toyota is driven by C.D. Magrum, who has finished 5th or higher in points in every one of his seasons so far. 2 times he's finished 3rd, a 6-time winner, has previously won at Talladega. That was back in season 3. Still has yet to pick up a victory at Daytona, but always up front at the super speedways.
Yeah, I mean, he's proven to be another one of those guys who's consistent regardless of what platform we're on, because he made his debut on the console side of things, the second of our 3 Tornado Alley drivers. Very formidable lineup as always. And the fact that CD Magrum's been able to get as comfortable as he has over the course of the last few years, I would not be surprised to once again see him hanging around by the time we're looking at who's going to Phoenix at the end of September.
Very well. Easy championship contender, as they will come to the line as the 14th car to put up a time, 49.566. We're going to have a 3-way tie for 8th, excuse me.
Yeah, so that's gonna, again, he's 3rd to set that time, so that puts him in 10th. That's the tiebreaker, of course, is who sets the time first.
Back to a rookie. Oh my. That's not how you start a lap.
Well, I mean, the driver from Alberta, Matt McDonald, had the car pointing west there for a little bit, but now he's got it going in the right direction.
Yeah, our first driver from the west coast of Canada over in Calgary, Alberta. Our first one in some time.
Got to be careful with that. It's the prairies. The BC folks might get insulted over the west coast designation. And they're a very proud prairie province, Alberta is. I might know that after having broadcasted there the last 2 years.
Yeah, west side, close enough. The number 25 Ford has APC Auto Parts Center, Wild Rose Brewery, and Home Hardware on the car. So again, one of the 3 rookies alongside Eric Galaney. And in just a little bit, Blake Thronberg to hop on board with us. Again, it's may not be as big of a rookie class as we've seen in past years. I mean, we did have 4. Back in season 4, we had a whopping 8 last year. We had a bunch of big groups over on the in the console era, but still, though, quality over quantity is what we're hoping for.
Yeah, and this is truly our first time getting a glimpse at Matt McDonald, as he wasn't available for the test races last week. So this will be a real indicator of what kind of pace he's got in that number 25.
So off of 4, coming to the line, 15th car to put up a time, 49.534. That puts him in 6th.
That's a respectable debut here for the 25, middle of the pack at this point.
But it's still Adam Wilson and Corbin McCauley provisionally on the front row for the 6th annual GTR Daytona 250. But then here we have a former Talladega winner looking to break that apart.
Yeah, the first of our newly formed back row motorsports drivers. It's the number 77 of Hunter Young, who's done more full seasons lately. He came in as a part-timer in seasons 2 and 3 on the console side of things, but has been more present in the iRacing era. And you mentioned that Talladega win back in season 4. A guy who's comfortable on the super speedways and a guy who can find himself in the thick of the action when it matters.
Definitely one of the top underdogs that we have here in this field. We've had since he first joined us. Year number 4, St. Catharines, Ontario, Backrow Motorsports, Merrittville Speedway, Oswego Speedway, and Pudgy's Pizza on the car. Best points finish of 14th. Of course, the season that he won his way into the playoffs, 19th last year.
Indeed so, and we'll see what Hunter Young's got here. And a reminder for those who might not be aware, we're operating under live and ever-changing track conditions, and we've gotten a note from our meteorologically inclined folks. Say that 3 times fast.
3rd time's the charm.
Yeah, and you just throw up a graphic to kind of undermine all of that. But the point is, clouds are coming, and that could potentially change some times here. As let's see what Young puts up.
He goes to 9th with a 49.556. That's another tie.
No, is it, or because the other ones have been 5.66? Oh yeah, tied with Urkel. No, yeah, the others are 5.66 so far.
Yeah, some of the gaps are a little different. I'm assuming if you go a couple numbers later or something like that. However, mathematics work. But anyways,
yeah, I mean the first time I remember that being particularly prominent on the F1 side of things was the 1997 season finale there, where Michael Schumacher, Jacques Villeneuve, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen all set the same qualifying time for pole, but it was Schumacher on pole, Villeneuve second, Frentzen third, again because of the order in which the times were set.
Yeah, as we were talking about weather there, though, cloud, or quote-unquote meteorologists talking about the cloud cover could cool the track down, could make laps faster. Again, of course, the wind and its direction do also play a big factor as well under these partly cloudy skies. So it might, I would think in that direction, probably the second half of the lap. I think that might be fast.
Yeah.
If my geography serves correctly in my brain.
Yeah, regardless, I think the driver we're seeing on track right now has got, we know his talent, but I think he's got a bright future as well. We talked about his impending partnership with Scott Bailey. We'll see what Jared Ireland's got here in the blue-collar racing era of his career.
Yeah, kind of similar to Justin Belmonte last season with the whole attendance thing. Still picked up a victory, but his rookie season certainly runner-up in points. Just fell short of the championship to, ironically, Scott Bailey.
Indeed. 3
victories over the season as he comes to the line. A 5.64. That's good for 10th.
Yeah, you know what? I'm starting to look at how some of these fields could be forming. Ooh, boy, I think we're going to have some spicy duels here, bud.
So yeah, 2 career victories at Kansas and then 1 each at Texas and Las Vegas in the past 2 seasons. So this guy's an absolute monster on the intermediates. Again, I was talking earlier about pit strategies and such. Yeah, not too bad on the super speedways either. Hopefully could use just a little bit more luck. And then there's this guy who's looking to go back-to-back in 250s.
Indeed he is. And again, another former Earl Ross Cup champion in our midst here. And the final one of our Tornado Alley e-racing entries. And I know we joke about this particular topic, but we've confirmed Kansas City as the hometown for one Ty Higginbotham, back for season 5 in his number 97. Another monster on both the console and in the iRacing era, because you mentioned the 250 win at Daytona. He's also got a 200 win as well under very chaotic circumstances. But you know what? He's a guy who makes himself there at the very end. So let's see what the 97's got under 1 lap.
Tornado Alley and I believe Nordic Aluminium on the number 97 Toyota. Of course, as you said, past champion. And then a 10-time winner in the series since 2021. Also runner-up in our IndyCar series, or so-called DART, back in 2023 with a victory on that campaign as well.
And I think this might have came up in one of your trivia questions for me last week, but if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Higginbotham would be another guy who's won in each season he's competed in.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see how, 49.6. Man, that's not the lap he would have been looking for, but he's a guy who can make things happen from toward the back of the field, and that's 16th out of 18 cars that have put a lap up so far.
Maybe saving the best for last, waiting it out for the duel, and then, of course, next Monday when it all has to come together, go for back-to-back 250s. Again, he'll look to make it 3 seasons in a row where he's won at Daytona, the night race, the wild night race, we'll put it. Firecracker 200 in season 4, and then again last year, the 250s. So he'll look to make it a bit of a triple with 1 Daytona win per season since the 200. And then we got Mr. Zesty Paws.
Yeah, we do. Back from Appleton, Wisconsin is one Tommy Janikowski. Good to see Tom back in the swing of things. Another guy in kind of that Mark Ouellette vein who's shown improvement over the course of his time in the E-Motorsports network, and just really positive overall contributor to the dynamic that we've built in the series over the years. And we're happy that he's back for a 4th go around.
Driving for Big T Motorsports at Appleton, Wisconsin. Best points finish at 13th back in season 3. On the iRacing side, points finishes at 21st and 15th.
Yeah, so that's, again, the transition from the console era to the iRacing platform between seasons 3 and 4. But, yeah, Tommy, he's a guy that's, I've got faith that he could potentially figure it out and maybe challenge for playoffs this year, which, again, would be another step forward for him.
Well, you have to think about that as well. 26 drivers, 12 playoff spots. Like that's just under half the field that has to make their way in, with only 14 regular season races. Yeah, you were talking about this guy. You're talking about this guy trying to make an impact as an underdog. Janikowski to 7th.
Yeah, so that's with 7 drivers remaining. He's got to be no worse than 14th in this session. So, great representative lap here for the 93.
But no one has been able to break about top 5, top 6. At least the past couple of drivers haven't been able to. Macaulay about 7/1000ths of a second off of Wilson. So the front row is still provisionally safe. But then we talk about
good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Yep, just some guy in the 00 car to Salisbury, North Carolina. His name's Jordan Kalinian. Sorry.
I was going to say, fun fact, if you stack the 2 zeros on top of each other, it looks roughly like the number of wins he had last season. 8, as a matter of fact. Dominant at times.
I love your way of thinking.
Well, I mean, I got to keep it clean, right? So we'll see if Kalinian can keep it clean on this flyer here to set down his marker to start the year.
Yep, it's not like this guy won 8 races last year. It's not like that ever happened. It's not like he won 4 races in a row between the regular season finale and then the first couple of playoff races, but wins at... I'm going to sound like a car auction person here. Circuit of the Americas, Sonoma, Nashville, Rockingham, Darlington, Watkins Glen, Bristol, and Chicago.
Yeah, I hope he enjoyed his Rampage coffee after sweeping that round of 12 mini competition.
Yeah, Joey Logano 2015 style. Not 3 wins, but 2 still with our format.
Yep.
I think the point still applies as the 00 comes to the line.
Okay. Oh. Wow. All right.
He did. I think he might have grazed the outside wall, though, on his outlap. It looked like he was pretty damn close, almost like Darlington style.
Okay, so I guess I got to think about this for a second as we see Blake Thronberg about to make his official debut here. I remember when we did the Indy qualifying, like it was a wall touch and your lap was invalidated. So I guess that's not necessarily the case here.
Yeah, if you're able to make it to the line, you make it to the line.
Fair enough.
Something like that.
Well, I mean, we saw the time posted. But again, I'm not necessarily worried about Jordan Kalinian being able to work his way through the field. He's shown he's more than capable.
Indeed, as now we have, I think this is the first time in a long time where we can kind of say the Dale car.
Yeah, well, I would say, yeah, at any point in the
he had a bit of a wiggle there on the apron. It was so subtle.
Well, I mean, very emblematic of the infamous Intimidator 3, just in the sense of pushing for every last inch he can find on the track.
Yes, actually, I'm looking at our live YouTube chat. Bryce Fontaine he said momentum is important. He grazed the wall in the outlap. I knew I saw that.
Okay, and yet his time is still holding up not too badly here in 8th, but we'll see if there's a change here as
I'm talking
makes his way through.
Talking Kalinian.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Fontaine turned into kind of a Jose Mercado analyst thing.
Ah, okay. This is an interesting starting position as well.
Yeah, Blake Throneberg, the number 3 car at Graham, North Carolina for Back Row Motorsports. Throneberg Construction and Fat Boy Designs on that car. Trying to continue the momentum again from the preseason test races last Monday, but not looking good here so far. In 18th place out of 21 cars, which if we were to take off the driver info tab, there are the rest of the guys that get covered by this tab. But anyways, now we got the number 12.
Well, the third of the back row guys and another one of our OGs. In fact, the number 12 of Mike Marini out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, running a scheme. Eventually, he'll be running a scheme reminiscent of what he ran in season 1, but he's also our all-time leader in starts. This will be start number 108 with the GTR 250 next week, and 2-time winner officially, it should be noted, at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And of course, there's the All-Star race back in season 2 at the Indy Roval. But back in those days, Mike Marini was also a monster in terms of one-lap pace. So we'll see if he's able to rediscover some of that form.
Yeah, very consistent pace-wise on mainly the super speedways and the road courses. I mean, he, as you said, the wins at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, absolutely a road course ace on the console side. iRacing side still hasn't been able to emerge in the victory lane just yet, but nonetheless, still some very much an improvement between his first season on iRacing and his second. It was 17th he placed in points in 2023, and then 2024 made to 12th. He barely edged his way into the Earl Ross Cup playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a byproduct of getting a feel for the car, and we'll see what Marini's got here at the line.
Ooh, 6.
All right.
As I was saying, he has the pace on the big tracks.
Yeah, so that's going to lock him into a top 10 spot here in this qualifying session with 4 drivers remaining.
He is the defending Talladega pole sitter. I believe he has the all-time most podium finishes and top 5 finishes at Daytona.
Yeah, I mean, I remember him being very much in the mix on a number of occasions in the early years. So, yeah, if I would be not surprised at all if that checks out as we go ahead to check out the last of our hyperdrive entries this year.
Yep, Mason Tomlinson, the number 4 Toyota of Eudora, Kansas. 17th in points last season.
Yeah, and of course was mere inches from victory at Indianapolis to get himself into the playoffs. Nearly the ultimate benefactor of that crazy start-finish straight wreck at the very end. Just couldn't quite outpace CD Mangrum there, and that would have been an interesting story, as again, Tomlinson was another part of our rookie class, as you mentioned, along with Adam Wilson and Jordan Kalinian, who really made their marks there.
Yeah, he's one of those drivers in that big year 2 group here for season 6, like Tomlinson and, as you mentioned, Kalinian and Wilson. And coming up in just a little bit, we're going to have the number 16 of Ryan O'Toole, and then the number 32 of our former IndyCar champion in Charlie Sears, and a NASCAR winner at Monza.
And a Championship 4 competitor last season as Tomlinson comes to the line.
Yeah, 49.549, so that puts him in 10th.
All right, again, you're staying within that 2/10 area from, first, that'd be 23rd now. So the 2/10, that's, quite, interesting to see everything so compressed, I guess is what I'm going for in terms of the times from top to bottom. And I, for one, am enjoying seeing that.
I was going to say something about Sears, but we will save that for when he is out on the track. Who is out on the track now? Another Iron Man.
Florida Man.
Florida Man, yes. Another way to put it. That is the driver of the number 41 GTR Motorsports Ford with Valvoline on the car. I know, especially in the iRacing era, in recent seasons, this guy has been absolutely delivering with the liveries, especially throwback to Jose Mercado at Kissimmee, Florida. This guy had his big time was back in the console era with finishes of 5th, and 4th through 3 seasons on the console side and 6 career victories. The transition to iRacing was a challenge, 18th in points, but then last season was able to make it to the round of 8.
Yeah, and the thing we talked about with him last week on the test race broadcast as well was, just that overall resilience that he had in the playoffs to get as far as he did, because it was not an easy road for the 41, but the fact that he was able to grind and make his way through the first couple of rounds and give himself a chance, this is a guy who might have his swagger back, and I am looking forward to seeing what he delivers now.
I feel like there's a lot of drivers where we've been saying that, making that kind of a statement, and that just again goes to show how stacked of a field that we're going to have for this upcoming season as the 41 comes to the line.
Okay, probably not the time he was looking for, but again, he's never been afraid of a challenge. So again, if I could see him conceivably working his way through the field.
Yeah, the kind of guy that I think definitely will save his best performance for the racing aspect rather than qualifying. And then I'll get back to what I was saying earlier about this guy. What a breakout performance that he had late last season after it was very much a roller coaster of a regular season. And then that Monza win really shifted things into gear. And then it turned out to be, again, a Final Four appearance, 4th in the standings for Charlie Sears.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing for our second-year 499 e-racing driver out of Charlottesville, Virginia, was the fact that he was able to evolve so quickly on the NASCAR side of things on the different track configurations. We knew the raw talent and racecraft was there. I mean, when we first were introduced to him, he was holding a pro license on the IndyCar side of things. So not a surprise to see the overall talent that he's had, but again, to be able to make the shift that fast the way he did and be able to hang in to the point of having a shot at the championship, that speaks to what Charlie Sears is capable of. And I could see championship 4 again for him, especially again, the fact that we have 5 road and street courses over the course of this season.
Yeah, and the Charlotte Roval being in the round of 8, like that could easily be a track where he can take advantage and be able to, as you said, make his way back into the championship 4 for a second consecutive season. On the IndyCar side, this guy he's basically, at one point he was the IndyCar Jordan Kalinian with his 8 victories back in that season, as he will put up a 49.608, so that'll be only good for 20th. So Again, unless Ryan O'Toole pulls off an absolute miracle here, Adam Wilson looks to be your pole sitter.
Well, Wilson's locked up a front row spot regardless, because, again, O'Toole's our final driver. It'll be Corbin McCauley especially watching here. As we got O'Toole, I guess, just waiting for a cue. There he goes.
So the second-year driver out of Portland, Oregon. 21st in points last season.
Yeah, easily distinguishable by the University of Oregon livery. Go Ducks. Surprised there aren't any Nike logos on there somewhere, given that Oregon's pretty much a test ground for any Nike apparel products. But yeah, always striking in that yellow and green.
Especially with that championship points finish that I mentioned for last season. The number 16 is certainly looking to make his way up the standings. Try to peek his way into the top 10. Maybe sneak out a couple top 5 finishes. And again, to start off the season at Daytona, where literally anyone could have a shot at victory, this could be where he can take advantage and start his season off with a lot of momentum.
Yeah, and we're certainly about to find out as he's well underway on his lap now. And yeah, this will ultimately get everything set.
O'Toole, the final car that will take a lap here in the single car qualifying session for the 6th annual GTR Daytona 250. In just a little bit, we will get to the first race of the GTR Duel. Again, 30 laps each. And if you are watching our... Excuse me, what?
No, go ahead.
Okay. If you are tuned in with us on our broadcast on YouTube, looks like we're very close to 30 viewers at the moment, a couple likes, so greatly appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. I'll get to the second point when O'Toole actually gets to the line here. 49.605. So that will do it.
And no, the point I was going to make, as we've now confirmed our front row in the form of Adam Wilson and Corbin McCauley, those laps came fairly early in the session. I'm surprised that we didn't see the track evolution that maybe we were expecting, given what we heard in terms of the dynamic conditions evolving over the course of the session.
And thus, And so we have another new GTR Daytona 250 pole sitter from Laurel, Delaware. Adam Wilson puts Tornado Alley E-Racing on the front row in the top spot. Again, looking to continue that momentum for Tornado Alley with Ty Higginbottom having won the race last year. So great start for Tornado Alley thus far. And then, of course, Corbin McCauley guaranteed a front row spot in second place as well. 7/1000ths of a second short of the pole, but nonetheless, aside from the whole point situation for his dual race, when it comes to the GTR 250, nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, not much more you could ask for in beginning your title defense other than, maybe 8/1000ths faster, but hey, front row's front row. So never a bad thing when you've got essentially clear track in front of you.
And so here are your unofficial results for GTR Daytona 250 single car qualifying. Again, setting the front row for next Monday and then setting up the Duel 1 and Duel 2 starting lineups. So Adam Wilson and Corbin McCauley, as we were talking about, will set up the front row for next Monday. And then based on all the other positions, all the odd number drivers will go into Duel number 1, even spots in Duel 2. So that means, from what we have here are these top 10 unofficial results. That would mean Duel number 1 is going to include drivers like Andy Hurdle, Will Kern, Matt McDonald, and Bryce Fontaine. Duel 2 will have Darcy Ford, Mark Marini, Tom Janikowski, Mason Tomlinson. And then going through 11th through 20th, that would mean Duel 1 would have drivers like Scott Bailey, Jared Ireland, Justin Belmonte, Jason Butler, and Jordan Kalinian. Duel 2 looks to be Hunter Young, Mario Ercolini, C.D. Magram, Dan Cudmore, Ryan O'Toole, And then the drivers from 21st to 26th, Sears, Higginbottom, and Knoll will be together in duel number 1. And then Thronberg, Mercado, and Ouellette will have to wait until the second 30 lapper. But anyways, how about that? Adam Wilson, Corbin McCauley, front row for next Monday.
And again, the fact that those times were set as early as they were and no one could match them, I mean, that's confidence out of Adam Wilson to have that kind of start. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he's able to pay it off in the duel tonight. Because, yeah, he's got the front row locked up, but now we're looking at some points here, brother. So we've got to kind of lock in and get into some competition now.
Absolutely. And as I was saying, a bit of unfortunate time in there with Ryan O'Toole getting to the line to complete his lap there in single car qualifying. As I was saying to everybody watching us on YouTube on our first live broadcast for Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series, feel free to interact with us in the live chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from and who you may be potentially cheering on. Maybe give us some predictions for how the season's going to go and the predictions for these dual races coming up in just a little bit. Who do you think is going to win the GTR Daytona 250 next Monday night? Got CD Meg and Bryce Fontaine, some drivers being interactive in there. Also, don't forget to like this, try to get this going in the algorithm, and subscribe to the E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. Click on that notification bell so that you can be notified when we do go live, or if Daniel Cudmore decides to put together another fantastic video, maybe a hype video, sponsor video, highlight video, whatever it may be. Of course, it's kind of... Is it fair for me to say, making me feel a little amateur after how last season all went? But again, though, at the same time, obviously, a guy like him, his age compared to me here at 21, experience pretty damn obvious, and we had to work with what we had to work with for season number 5. So, yeah.
I don't even know if it's so much that. It's, I think, the just having the vision all lined up again, because I think it's probably fair to say from all sides that, there were, differing points of view in terms of, the future direction of everything. But now that the captain's back steering the ship, things are looking pretty rosy here now. And, I'm looking forward to, after getting away from it for a little bit, just kind of locking back in and seeing how everything goes now that everything feels like it's trending in the right direction again.
Very, very solid points there. So with all that being said, Jordy, we are going to go into a little bit of a break here so that we can transition sessions within the iRacing service, as qualifying, Duel 1 and Duel 2 are all in separate sessions. So we'll take a bit of a break. And we will be back in just a little bit to get set for the 2 races for the GTR Duel at Daytona, the second time that we have hosted those. We had this same exact format back in Season 5 as well. So don't go away. We'll be back in just a little bit here at the World Center of Racing in Daytona Beach, Florida. And we will eventually set the rest of the starting lineup for the 6th annual GTR Daytona 250. Stay tuned. Alrighty, folks, for all of you that have still stuck it out with us here in this a little bit longer than a quick break, obviously, but anyways, we are back at it. We just completed GTR Daytona 250 single car qualifying just a short time ago, setting up the front row for next Monday night's GTR Daytona 250 and setting the starting lineups for our two GTR Duel Daytona qualifying races, 30 laps each. We're here for the first race. And so, Jordy, at a single car qualifying, certainly a lot of parity, a lot of drivers spread around. Adam Wilson, Corbin McCauley locking up the front two spots for next Monday's 6th annual GTR Daytona 250. And, you know, we're really going to see these drivers come together in these dual races and see how they work together. We're going to get this first glimpse, kind of a preview of what is to come for next Monday, of course. As you can see, as we are live at the virtual Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida, we are racing now at nighttime. We qualified under the sun, but the rest of these guys that did not get into those front two spots in single car qualifying are going to be running under the lights.
Yeah, they are. But I mean, everybody's going to be looking for that initial point boost to get the year started off right. So that's really what we're going to be paying attention to over the course of the evening. 20 of our 26 drivers are going to open their accounts, and, you know, it could very well mean a lot when we get to, you know, the end of the regular season, like we were talking about earlier. So kind of first test for everyone to see, you know, who's ready to be competitive out of the gate.
So, of course, 26 drivers, literally our entire Season 6 roster, came out and put out a lap in that single car qualifying session. So where that means, equal at the math, we're going to have 13 drivers per duel. Of course, the two drivers, Wilson, McCauley, who locked up the front two spots for next Monday's 250, will still be in the duels. There's still obviously championship points on the line. The top 10 finishers in each of these duel races will be awarded points that will matter towards how the regular season standings play out.
And again, it's 13 car fields on both sides. So most of our drivers, they're going to be getting a bit of a head start this year. So more important than maybe we realized, or maybe more important than I stated earlier. So looking forward to seeing how these play out.
So we're just waiting on every single one of these 13 cars to line up here on the grid or pit lane or whatever you want to call it behind the iRacing safety vehicle pace car. And I'm going to go in the iRacing voice chat. We have a bit of a plan laid out for how we want to do this. Have a bit of interactivity with some of the quick interactivity with some of these guys and get some hype out of them. We'll throw some hype onto them, or at least I will. As well, because obviously you don't have the whole technology, the iRacing service thing, blah, blah, blah. So I'll have this quick thing going on here. We'll get these engines fired up with the most famous words in motorsports. And of course, after that, with the engines fired up, cars rolling, we'll introduce the starting lineup. And so this thing I'm going to do here in the chat, I'm going to do live. And we'll see how it goes. So
Go full Bill O'Reilly on it.
Yes. So it looks like everybody is lined up here. So safe to assume that these guys are expecting me to arrive in just a couple of seconds. So let's give this a shot. Alrighty, gentlemen. Are you ready?
Gotcha.
And thus, welcome to the first of the GTR Duel at Daytona races. 30 laps set in the inside row for next Monday's 6th annual GTR Daytona 250. Best of luck to each and every one of you. And with all that being said, gentlemen, start your engines. And so there you have it. The engines have been fired up. Cars are rolling off of the pit lane, and now we will get to the starting lineup here for this first of the dual races. And there we go. I think the music should be playing out just fine now as everybody rolls off the pit lane. So on the front row for the first of the 2 races here for the GTR Duel at Daytona, we have Adam Wilson. Again, secured the pole for next Monday, but still looking to get a good finish here and try to obtain some points as a top 10 finisher. Andy Hurdle will round out the front row in second place. No longer your defending GTR Daytona 250 pole sitter, but nonetheless still looking to get a good spot here on the inside row for next Monday. And then Will Kern and Matthew McDonald make up row number 2.
Yeah, very interesting opening quartet there. And, you know, you mentioned Kern there. He's got his hyperdrive teammate Bryce Fontaine starting right behind him in 5th on the inside. And then we have our 2 blue-collar racing guys back-to-back here. Season 4 champ Scott Bailey starting 6th, Jared Ireland 7th. And Season 4 Daytona 250 winner Justin Belmonte will start this one in 8th. So that 60 could be one to watch.
And then row number 5, the number 10 of Jason Butler, and then to his outside, the 00 of your championship runner-up last year. 8 victories, looking to make it 9 at least next Monday, although if you were to talk unofficially, it could be tonight. And of course, also a back-to-back GTR Duel at Daytona winner. And then moving on here to these final 2 rows where we have Charlie Sears, Ty Higginbottom together in 11th and 12th. And Kyle Knoll will round out the field for the first of the 2 30-lap dual races.
Yeah, and I, for one, am glad that the time for talking is just about over. It's going to be great to see some real-time on-track performance here. And I know it's only half the field, but it's a fantastic indicator of what's to come over the course of the next 5.5 months.
So it looks like we do have a technical issue with our ticker, but there was a real quick way to resolve it. Not the most perfect way, but nonetheless, we'll move forward.
Wouldn't have even known if you hadn't said anything.
Well, it probably doesn't help that there was a checker flag there when there was not supposed to be.
Okay, that means I wasn't looking at the screen hard enough, obviously.
Anyway, so pace car lights are off. All cars down the back straightaway. For weather info, mostly cloudy skies, 23 degrees Celsius, air and track temperature, and then 73, 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind at 11 kilometers per hour, 7 miles per hour, 10.6, kind of fluctuates every couple of seconds or minutes. It's going in the east direction.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we're talking about that east wind. I think all these guys are concerned about are going north on the leaderboard.
Okay, so just got an update that is not a technical issue. It's because the session hasn't even started yet.
Yeah,
so
that would do it.
We're speaking too soon.
Yeah, and now I feel a lot better.
And so do I. Live and learn.
Yep. And the fact that we were able to get that feedback when we did is primarily because both of the drivers who would provide said feedback are in Duel 2, but it's time to focus on Duel 1 right now, bud.
Yes, sir. To the green flag. Round number 1 for the GTR Duel Daytona is underway.
Man, I forgot how aggressive that flag man's arm gets. But it's, I mean, as aggressive as that flag arm was, it seems pretty controlled off the start here, and Wilson's looking good coming onto that back straight.
Aggressive move there towards the back. That was Scott Bailey trying to find a hole on the inside.
Yeah, Scotty seems to, I mean, I mentioned it during the during the qualifying session, not necessarily worried if Scott Bailey's a little bit further down the field. He's always been an expert at playing the long game.
Yeah, within a couple of laps in the dual races last year, we saw drivers getting a bit of a single file train on the inside. But again, still early. Lap number 2 of 30. Got 2 lanes going at it. Top 5 now single file on the inside. Andy Hurdle leading the top. Only 3 cars up high. So they'll probably fall back in line there behind Higginbottom and Knoll unless someone decides to go up and make something happen. But it's Adam Wilson leading the charge.
Yeah, I mean, just consolidating that earlier effort in the early going. And, he put down that strong time that no one was able to beat despite going relatively early in the qualifying session. And Wilson, early on anyway, is showing he's got the racecraft to match.
So there's some interesting discussions about, as I say that, in the wall, Matthew McDonald.
Oh boy. But everyone still moves forward. We'll see if McDonald's able to regain the draft, because obviously that's an early impact.
Riding on board with the 31 of Will Kern. Right in behind Wilson there for second place, giving a couple of bumps, doing some bump drafting as well. With a slide up to the middle-ish lane.
Yeah, just trying to not necessarily rattle Adam Wilson early, but, just trying to get a feel for what the 21 will tolerate at the head of the field. And obviously Kern a little bit emboldened by having his hyperdrive teammate Bryce Fontaine right behind him as well.
So as I was literally saying earlier about last year, everyone getting into a single file train on the inside. Thus, that is what we are witnessing here. But again, we're just kind of logging the laps in, waiting till the end, which again, that was what happened last year, and we had some unfortunate situations.
Indeed, we did.
For some drivers.
Yes.
And what I was going to say earlier, too, about this whole fuel thing is that it's at 50% of each of these races, but there was some questioning about when exactly when it's all going to play out, when the fuel is going to drop, and when these guys might have to put things together and strategize and such. Again, they're
a little bump in the back. It was
something like that.
Yeah, Sears, and I want to say it was either Belmonte or Hurdle that he touched wheels with, but everybody going in the right direction still, so no harm, no foul.
And again, what I was just saying there, never know, we could get an update, things can change. Again, it's just kind of a natural thing that we're going to have to, it's a natural wait-and-see game, especially for these dual races, and when we get to the GTR Daytona 250, next Monday night, there's certainly going to be a lot more at play for a 100-lapper with some stages compared to 230-lappers.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, it's like you would frequently say in the drivers chat, you can't win the race on lap 1, but you can certainly lose it on lap 1 if you're not careful. And obviously, early on, we've seen Matt McDonald have his early incident. He has lost the draft, so he's some 10 seconds back of Andy Hurdle, who's at the end of that line right now. So lots of work for the 25 to do in his unofficial debut.
Yeah, and that was
13 seconds, as a matter of fact. Sorry.
Yeah, and that was another point to make as well. Some drivers were reporting a lot of drag in practice before we got going here. I believe it was the night before. Apparently because of a recent iRacing update, correct me if I'm wrong. And so it's a big factor to play here. You gotta really count on yourself to stay in the draft. Otherwise, if something ends up happening, you can't. Let's say you lose this pack right here, kind of like Matt McDonald did. You're falling way back.
It's a long night for sure, and I mean, you're seeing that differential even just between McDonald and Hurdle just continuing to spread out. And I mean, we're only on
boy.
Excuse me, we're only on lap 8, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the field eventually does come around and swallow up the 25.
Looks like Belmonte's trying to make something happen up high, or at least helping Sears and Hurdle get up, or it might have been a bit of a self move there, because now Sears and Hurdle are going to have to drop in behind Noel. No, Sears still doing a bit of side drafting there back in the 10th position. Sears will have it there at the line. There's a bit of separation that was building there between Ireland and Kalinian, almost kind of 2 trains going at it, but now they'll get back into a bit of a snake of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars deep.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see a few more drivers lose the back of that. Belmonte trying desperately to hang on.
Yeah, I think what Belmonte did there in 3 and 4, yeah, that caused Noel, Hurdle, and Sears to fall back. Meanwhile, Matt McDonald just entering turn number 1.
Yeah, I mean, at least this trio of cars, they're still on the same straightaway right now, but you know, if that gap gets any bigger, they're risking falling off the back end, as Matt McDonald did a little bit earlier. And, you know, over the course of 75 miles, there really isn't a whole lot of time to get yourself kind of on the right side of things again.
9 laps completed, 21 more to go. As again, these guys continue to log the laps down and try to get to the end. And as much as these guys are trying to have that nice little train going there along the apron on the inside, you do see a lot of these guys kind of wiggling back and forth. So stability's not perfect.
No, and I mean, that's an interesting element to this, because typically you think under the night conditions that grip would be a little bit better. But again, the fact that you're seeing that lack of stability, you know, it's proving to be a challenge here in the early going. But you know, Adam Wilson's still comfortably out front. No one really making a move yet.
Yeah, still early to try and make things happen. It's Wilson, Kern, Fontaine currently holding those provisional podium positions. And yeah, 2 Hyperdrive Esports drivers there working together in 2nd and 3rd. Scott Bailey, your Season 4 champion, then Jared Ireland right in behind. Goes Kalinian, Higginbottom, Butler, and Belmonte, 9 cars deep. And then Hurdle leading the charge of this 3-car pack, just now getting to the line.
Yeah, and I mean, you see just how far they've fallen off as well. You're talking 4.5, 5 seconds now, and that really didn't take all that long to happen. So, you know, that just really further emphasizes the need to keep things clean here at Daytona and be able to stay with the rest of the pack.
Yeah, you can see Kern being real aggressive there with the bump drafting behind the 21. But then as soon as he lets off, you can kind of see everyone else kind of get back together. Like, it keeps being very sporadic. They'll all close in on each other, then kind of back off just a little. It's very back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, again, Kern pushing like that, again, it might... I alluded to the possibility of it being a possible test of Adam Wilson to see if he's able to get him loose, potentially, just with the sheer presence of the 31. But, you know, the 21's not blinking yet. So we'll see how things evolve as we get toward the halfway point of this duel.
And in a way, this is basically a practice for next Monday. These guys are grouped together for the first time, trying to figure out how each other works, getting comfortable with this kind of racing, especially if it's, for some of these guys, first time. It might be the first time competing with each other.
Yeah, and you're looking at just shy of what we would project to be a stage length here in this one. So it gives you a little bit of maybe a forecast in terms of what to look for next week. Yes, different conditions, you know, night session versus day for the 250. But at the same time, if you can get a feel for it, like there's something to be said for having confidence in terms of, getting off to that good start this season.
So you were talking about there with Wilson and Kern, 31 trying to get the 21 loose and everything. It really looks like he's experimenting real hard with them. Top three are starting to pull a bit of a gap there between the 22 and the 48. Again, Wilson continuing to lead every single one of these laps. Again, your pole sitter for next Monday's 6th annual GTR Daytona 250, trying to have that experience of running up front.
Yeah, and I mean, if he's able to add 10 points on top of the pole position, like, that's job done for the 21. And, he's acquitting himself very well here this evening. Not that we'd expect anything less now that he's in his second season with us here. But, yeah, Wilson looking good, looking pretty cool under the lights.
So there's about 2/10 or so in between the 22 and the 48, but at some point you'll be able to eventually see that run. At least if Bailey and the rest of the guys decide to catch back up, as we're essentially now halfway through, 15 laps to go in GTR Duel Daytona, race number 1.
Indeed so. And again, the question is when we would project a possible pit window if we are going to get one. I quickly went back to watch a little bit of the 250 from last season, and we looked at around lap 18, 19 in that first stage. Again, different conditions and all that. Oh, what do we have here? Maybe I'm speaking it into existence. Everyone's a wuss. They're just making it happen at the halfway point.
Okay, so it was halfway through. You would think that with 50% fuel, right?
I mean, I guess that's
maybe
if you want to be all safe and all that, sure.
So while everyone from first through that, basically that kind of a train there in the lap car, Matthew McDonald, the other three stay out. Andy Hurdle, Charlie Sears, Kyle Knoll. Adam Wilson's going to lead everyone off the pit lane. So McDonald's now going to go a lap down. He kind of, not on paper, not technically, but led the charge of the entire pack as he was about to go a lap down on the racing surface, but ended up being on pit road.
Yeah, and obviously had the pit box a little bit further up, having qualified 4th for this one.
So the 7, 32, and 15 stay out. And you can see Wilson ahead of, oh my gosh, what a run those guys are going to have here.
Yeah,
yep, there it goes.
Good Lord, yeah. Even a little bit of a side draft for good measure.
Oh, there they go. Wilson in the wall hard.
All right, man,
Fontaine collected. Belmonte might have been as well. Ireland saves the car. Yellow.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was rough. And I mean, you figured once everybody got collected, something felt inevitable. But yeah, that's not the way our pole sitter was looking to have this duel go.
And so your pole sitter for next Monday crashes hard just past halfway through this first race of the GTR Duel Daytona. Of course, his first place position next Monday is locked, but he may have just lost an opportunity there at some valuable points that will still count towards the point standings in the regular season, which will officially begin next Monday. But still, though, those extra points would have helped. I mean, again, though, 13 cars. He's in 10th. There were some other cars collecting that as well. Maybe there'll be a miracle of just a couple of positions. We'll have to wait and see. But with all that being said, it's replay time.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the YouTube chat where CD Mangrum suggests a backup car after this. And yeah, there's the initial contact. It looked like maybe Ireland just got a touch off around the start-finish line.
So we got a slow-mo replay of them exiting 4. You see Higginbottom making the aggressive move up high, everyone trying to follow in. Ireland and Belmonte stay low. Ireland tried to find a gap through the middle, make contact with Fontaine, and then Ireland loose down into Wilson, and there they go.
Yeah, and there's Belmonte just escaping. Hey, wait, no, never mind. I was wondering if the Lucky Turtle could get deployed potentially. Because that's an interesting point here now. You're going to have everybody bunched back up together. Probably 7 laps remaining if we've got kind of any precedent with cautions in terms of their length.
Yeah, that applies.
Yeah, Lucky Turtle time. Let's go.
Yes, sir. There we go.
Let's go.
You're welcome, Mark.
And the inaugural recipient of the Lucky Turtle is the number 25 of Matt McDonald, which that does track. He was, of course, the only car a lap down. So Matt McDonald has an opportunity to get back into this one after his early incident.
Yeah, self-explanatory. And so Ty Higginbottom inherits the lead with, again, that aggressive move off of 4. And then Jared Ireland tried some similar racing style there, except that was more so through the middle of a 3-wide situation, and it did not turn out well. And looking back here towards the back, yeah, Belmonte did have contact in that incident, but he was able to keep the car straight. Jared Ireland's just coming off of the pit lane. Wilson's in his box, so it looks like he, unless it comes in just a couple of seconds, then he is, yeah, probably not going to be able to get those points for the top 10 finishers. Matt McDonald's in his box.
Yeah, that's interesting. Potentially, again, we were thinking he was going to be the Lucky Turtle recipient.
So pace car lights off. It's going to be a 9-lap shootout to the checker flag if we can make it green all the way. Again, we weren't successful in that in, I believe, just one of last year's duels. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, yeah, I'd have to go back and look at that myself, but yeah, I'll go with your judgment on that.
Yeah, they wrecked on the final lap in one of them, so maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I'm just not. I don't.
Yeah,
my memory's not perfect with
now that you mention it. Yeah,
I don't. My memory's not being perfect with the other one, but nonetheless, we're focusing on this at the moment. So again, Higginbottom right now would provisionally lock up 3rd place for the starting lineup in next Monday's 6th annual GTR Daytona 250. But there is Will Kern up on the high side. You got Jordan Kalinian, Jason Butler. Kyle Knoll has made his way back up towards the top 5. Matt McDonald just coming back out onto the track and catching up to the pack, so the Lucky Turtle will still apply with him. Adam Wilson's getting back out, so there is still a chance for some of these guys. Bryce Fontaine a lap down in his box, so it looks like he will not have a chance at points unless, again, we have another big wreck up here. So again, 9 laps, still some time for things to shake up. You could see some drivers out of nowhere be able to pick up at least a point or 2 or multiple more even.
And again, 10 out of 13 will pick up at least 1 point. So
yeah,
there's still opportunity if you have the ability to get back out on track.
Pace car rolls off, and everyone remaining on track will get the green flag. 9 laps to go. Again, inside row positions for the GTR Daytona 250 next Monday, plus some valuable championship points on the line.
Yeah, and it looks like we're back up and running here now with, defending Daytona champ Ty Higginbotham at the front of the field. Jordan Kalinian toward the front up in second. Again, I talked about not being worried about him starting toward the back of the field at all, and that looks like it's paid out here. And yeah, it looks like largely single file here, save for a couple on that high line.
And so Adam Wilson essentially dominated over half of this race, and then Tyingman was like, you know what? It's my turn for Tornado Alley after that incident.
And notably, I'm not sure if this was a pit stop, but notably Scott Bailey not at the back of the field either. Kind of running in his own little world.
We might have barely just missed something there. A couple of cars all over the place through turns 1 and 2 now down the back stretch. Mainly single file train. There is Butler and Knoll up on the high side. They're going to end up falling back in line behind Wilson. Again, this is kind of what we were seeing last year in the 2 duel races, where these guys would line up on the inside in the final couple laps, and then with maybe 2 or 3 to go, then finally stuff would start to happen. How about this for Matt McDonald after falling all the way back early on, going a lap down? He's now in 7th.
With both of last year's duel winners right behind him. Well, right before Butler passed Wilson, that was the case. But Belmonte won duel 1 last year. Wilson took duel number 2. So again, they're running right behind Matt McDonald, who again, after that early incident, kind of has a new lease on this duel here, and he'll be able to potentially make something happen as Kern again tries to apply some pressure to the leader.
I think Kalinian trying to make something happen there on the high side, and Ireland did go with him, but that inside line is still prevailing with all the runs, and so that's going to have Higginbottom and Kern on the inside. Andy Hurdle third, leading the charge of everybody else. Still 6 laps to go. Might have been a little early there for the 00 and the 13.
Yeah, hard to say if there'll be a ton of time for them to work their way back into a single file formation here and regroup. Because the fact that no one else has gone with them, obviously, advantage still plays to that lower side or lower line.
Butler joins the high line. So does Knoll with a bit of a slide up. And then Wilson. So they might try to work together here. Oh, man!
Yeah, that was a slide. McDonald got up a little bit.
Close quarters. They're trying to make something happen. Ireland's giving Kalinian the push. Oh, right on the right rear. I wouldn't get too close.
No, this looks disastrous.
They're trying to make something happen, but it looked very aggressive. So, but again, 5 laps, or 4.5 now, down the backstretch.
Yeah.
Still some time, as there goes Justin Belmonte.
Again, won duel number 1 last year.
Ooh, Knoll about cleared himself on Butler.
Oh. Yeah, I feel like we haven't seen the end of the action here just yet.
Four to go.
Yeah, 10 miles to triumph here now.
And now it's only Knoll on the high side. Everyone to the low, actually Belmonte. Is he going to try to file his way in? No, he's not going to. Now he will.
Yeah, so after a little bit of drama, everybody's back on square one here now. Well, save for one car going up a little high. Was that Butler, maybe? And then Sears pulls out of that lower line, too.
They're coming to 3 to go. Again, you would think with all the guys on the inside just trying to log their way to the white flag, but this is essentially a ticking time bomb, and this is just a duel race.
Yeah, I mean, who says these weren't going to be competitive, right?
I mean, again, it's the 250 next Monday, so you got to have some sort of that aggressive, that practice of aggressive nature.
Yes, that's 100% fair.
You have to test the boundaries, figure out what will work. And if you're unsuccessful tonight, you get to try it again, except you're going to have a whole other half of the field added on for the 250.
Yeah, just a small adjustment there.
As Belmonte had a bit of a sideways moment there along the apron, turn 4. 2 to go.
All right, 5 miles of fury coming up here. We'll see if Higgy can hold on.
Popsicle sticks in the air. It's Ty Higginbottom leading the charge. Your defending GTR Daytona 250 winner. Looking to keep up that Daytona momentum here with a dual victory and looking to start third for next Monday. Hurdle and Collini a little aggressive there behind for third. Ireland trying to get Belmonte a push. You see Charlie Sears is up high there. Butler trying to make something happen with him, but they file back in line. So it's for all the marbles here as the flagman has the white in hand off of 4.
And it looks like Adam Wilson's fallen off the back of that line as well. So barring something catastrophic, it looks like we have our 10-point scorers, plus still got to get to the line.
So white flag for duel number 1. There goes 2 cars up high, Ireland and Knoll. It's the top 4 on their own at the moment. We'll see what kind of runs those 2 kind of packs are getting right there towards the back. Here they go. Higginbottom gets turned.
Oh, boy. Unless something catastrophic happens is what I said.
Multiple cars in the grass. That's Sears, one of them. But we're still
Yikes.
going. Looks like it's going to be a 4-car chase to the checkered. Will there be enough of a run from Curtis? He's going to get turned by Belmonte to the line. Hurdle wins it.
Yeah, just able to hang on there at the end. And, yeah, the good old broadcaster's jinx came in on that one. As we certainly got an electrifying end to duel number 1. Just carnage all over.
First time we can use this.
In full resolution.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
So unofficially, Andy Hurdle, your first winner of Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. Some pretty solid points that he will get towards the championship. And he will start third for the GTR Daytona 250 next Monday.
Yeah, nice little run for the 7. Again, last year's pole sitter, still able to get something out of the evening.
And then Jordan Collini and Jared Ireland will join him. And yeah, I bet what you'd expect. It took the final lap.
Yep.
Yeah, that speaks for itself.
That's more like how it finished.
But not bad. Andy Hurdle was not able to defend his GTR Daytona 250 pole from last season, but he was able to get a race victory in some capacity, so still works.
Andy Hurdle, currently our championship leader.
Ha.
Now that, we officially have points on the board.
And thus, here are your unofficial results for GTR Duel at Daytona race number 1. Andy Hurdle claiming the victory. Jordan Collini and Jared Ireland are rounding out there. Second and third for the podium. Justin Belmonte, Jason Butler, top 5 finishes. Kyle Knoll, Charlie Sears, and then Matt McDonald. Nice little rebound from earlier in 8th place. Adam Wilson, Will Kern are rounding out the top 10. We saw, obviously, Wilson earlier turned on the front stretch, and then, again, Kern, same thing, but on the final lap, coming to the checkered. And then to round it out, Ty Higginbottom, Scott Bailey, and then Bryce Fontaine 10 laps down. So those are the 3 drivers that unfortunately were not able to claim at least 1 point towards the championship. But again, just the duels. Got to reset and go at it again for when things get real for next Monday in the GTR Daytona 250. And I guess since we're still here, we might as well very quickly go back and replay what went down there for the final lap.
Do we have enough time to get everything that went down in the final lap?
Remember the night race, season 4? Like, that was enough, I think.
Yes. Yeah, that was a obviously double the field size. As we'll try this on for size, you finally see Kern starting to think of a move. And yeah, Hurdle gets into the back. That sends Kern into Higginbotham. And everything else happens.
And then cars becoming lawnmowers.
Yep.
But they were all able to keep it straight and going. And then back to the start-finish line off of 4. Kalinian aggressive with Kern. Belmonte up a little too high. Kern backs it into the wall. Jeez.
Yeah, that hurt.
Dole.
That's New York on New York violence there.
And then Hurtle first to the line.
Hurdle, not the turtle here tonight.
And yeah, Ireland snuck by Belmonte after that contact with Kern there to steal third.
Yeah, and some fantastic early points.
Indeed. So again, with these unofficial results, you basically grab Wilson into first place, and then everybody else here, you kind of determine the inside position. So obviously Wilson in first place, and so Hurdle would be third, Kalinian fifth, Ireland seventh, Belmonte ninth, Butler 11th, Noel 13th, and then it goes on from there. Obviously, all the official starting lineup will go out on social media once this is all said and done within the next couple of days. Stay tuned to our social media pages. But with all that being said, that does not do it for tonight. We still have another 30-lap duel race to complete in just a little bit, the second race. So basically, everyone that didn't race in this one, we're going to watch in a couple minutes in duel number 2. Again, 30 laps, about the same fuel window. And then we'll go from there. Jordy, any thoughts from what we just saw here? Anything to maybe expect going into duel 2, knowing who is in that one?
Well, I mean, if that first duel was any indication, I don't think anybody's going to be holding back, certainly. So looking forward to seeing how this group will kind of come together and make things entertaining for us. And yeah, we got 2 former champions in this field as well, which we didn't mention earlier, that we had 2 champs in the duel 1 fields too. So lots of parity from the top down. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see more fireworks here before the night's over.
Indeed. So again, we're going to go on another quick break so that we can switch sessions and head to GTR Duel Daytona race number 2. Again, congratulations, Andy Hurdle, on the Duel 1 victory and scoring 3rd place in the starting lineup for next Monday's 6th annual GTR Daytona 250, and everybody else settling all of the inside positions, the odd number positions for next Monday. But now, time to get ready for duel number 2. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be back in just a little bit. Alrighty, folks, so welcome back from that quick break that we just had in between the two GTR Duel Daytona, two 30-lap qualifying races for next Monday's GTR Daytona 250. And I missed this the last time around, but I might as well throw it in this time around. Yes, sir.
Yeah, bud.
And so if you were tuned in there for Duel number 1, certainly interesting how that all played out. Everyone kind of in a single file train, kind of practicing with each other, experimenting, just getting kind of a feel for how this racing may go. Obviously, it's only half a feel compared to what we're going to see next Monday night with the 250, but still getting comfortable, working your way around the Daytona International Speedway here in Daytona Beach, Florida. And then about halfway through, we had the fuel window come through, of course, with the 50% fuel. Most of the field pitted aside from 3 cars, and then Adam Wilson, who had been dominating up to that point, leading the charge hard into the outside wall on the front stretch, led us to a 9-lap shootout to solve things. Ty Higginbottom inheriting the lead all the way until the final lap. He gets turned on the back stretch, and then it's a bit of 3-4 car battle or so for the win. Andy Hurdle does start pulling away. Everyone, and then the 3 other guys in behind didn't exactly work together. It was more so just trying to fight for whatever they could in back. Will Kern gets spun into the grass. Jordan Kalinian comes home second. Jared Ireland steals third place from Justin Belmonte. And with all that being said, of course, all the inside row positions were determined for next Monday, but now it's time to determine the even number positions, the outside line. Of course, Corbin McCauley already has second place locked in after single car qualifying. And then Adam Wilson, of course, with back in Duel 1, he already got the pole for the inside. So the 17 already has that second place position locked up, but of course he's going to now try to go for some points that will count towards the season-long championship. And then everyone else, 4th, 6th, 8th, all those other odd number positions.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said before we went off the air at the end of Duel 1, I think you can expect a similar level of theatrics here in Duel number 2, because you're going to see a lot of guys who want to make a statement, but are we possibly delayed here, it looks like?
I think because of a glitch, we're going to have to skip a certain thing.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I'm seeing what's going on.
So my safe assumption is we will just get right into the starting lineup, which I got to remember this time to actually transition when the green flag comes.
Yes.
I guess the music to all the way to the start finish line maybe must have been some nice background music, but for the purpose, no. Anyway, now let's give it a shot and actually try to do it right this time. So here we are, the starting lineup for the second race of the GTR Duel at Daytona International Speedway. On the front row, we have a pair of series champions, your defending series champion for Season 5, Corbin McCauley, starts in first place. And then second is your Season 2 series champion and GTR Daytona 250 champion, Darcy Ford. And then Mike Marini, Tom Janikowski, row number 2.
All right, rounding out the top 5 of this one, we have Mason Tomlinson driving the number 4 Toyota. He's got Hunter Young for company on his outside, starting 6th. Row 4 sees series rookie Mario Ercolani starting in 7th out of Parsonsfield, Maine, and he's got a rather consistent fellow in the form of the number 1 Tornado Alley E-Racing entry of CD Mangrum out of the ATL in 8th.
And then row number 5 to round out the top 10. I clicked that button too soon. That would be series founder Daniel Cudmore looking to make a big impression in his return to racing in the series. Ryan O'Toole rounds out the top 10, also looking to make a big impact here in his first time in a race. This was on the track earlier for qualifying. And then to round out the rest of the field here, 11th place rookie, number 3, Blake Throneberg, looking to keep up the momentum from last week's preseason test races. Jose Mercado will start in 12th on his outside. And to round out the field, Mr. Lucky Turtle, in a way, the number 80 of Mark Ouellette.
Indeed, the man who's brought us the Lucky Turtle.
Yes, yeah, there you go. But you had to put those words in my mouth. Perfect.
Yep. Well, I mean, they weren't in your mouth at the time, so I added them.
Or added.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Close enough. Anyways. Pace car lights are off. Cars are rolling down the backstretch, just about to enter turn number 3. And yeah, this field compared to what we had there in duel number 1, we have a pair of former series champions on the front row, and then the rest of the way, aside from maybe a CD Magnum, it feels like we have a lot of underdogs in this one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit different weighting here. It sounds like maybe we're experiencing some soundtrack issues again from what I'm reading. But
we're good now.
Yeah, I mean, I think all anybody wants to hear is the roar of these engines as we're just about set to start duel number 2.
No, now that I think about it, I think the timing with the music going off now actually makes sense. The cars roll off of 4 to the green flag, then bingo, music's off. So, with all that being said, to the start-finish line, green flag. Round number 2 for the GTR Duel Daytona is underway.
Yeah, nice start for Corbin McCauley, just getting the jump on everybody. As again, it looks like very early, as we're only going into turns 1 and 2 now, but looks like that lower line could be prominent once again.
Yep, already looking like that as CD Magnum will dive in front of Mark Roulette, in behind Jose Mercado. It's still Ford and Young up on the high side. So Ford already dropping all the way back there to 8th, potentially 9th here soon, ahead of the 77 of Hunter Young. It is Macaulay Marini pioneering the field.
Yeah, just might have to, if you're Darcy Ford and our second driver in the picture, you're trying to pick up on that livery. I really need to get myself right on these. Anyway, those two drivers, they might just have to slot in here somewhere and take the medicine for the time being.
Yes, until about halfway or so, when most of these guys will head down pit road, unless we get a caution beforehand, because it took until after everybody pitted for then suddenly something to explode on the front stretch again with Adam Wilson, Jared Island, a couple other guys getting collected just near the start-finish line.
Now we've got O'Toole up high as well.
Yeah, following in behind Ford. And everybody else, all the other 11 cars on the inside. O'Toole then dives down Ford. We'll find a gap there between Young and Ouellette. So now we got the single file train on the inside.
Yeah, just kind of back to basics here. No one wanting to go too crazy here in the opening couple laps. And I mean, it's a fair observation because it's not about where you start, it's where you finish. Which obviously will determine where you start next week.
Indeed.
So a little bit of roundabout reasoning there, folks.
Got a pair of rookies there trying to make something happen on the outside. Ercolani and Thronberg. Jose Mercado following in behind. Yeah, you got two drivers in their first year, and then you got the guy who's been here since the very beginning and has not stopped yet.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a little bit of teammate help for Ercolani in the form of having Jose Mercado there. Maybe they can formulate a bit of a strategy here in the early going just to make sure they can stay consistent through the pit stops and then kind of move their proverbial chess pieces toward the end of the session.
Look at that run.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, getting it right with, you know, some help from his fellow rookie Thronberg.
Magram dives down. Gets out of line to the inside, or at least swaps lines.
Well, there's a little bit of safety in that lower line, I suppose, would be the thought there, because like I mentioned during the duels, typically the shortest distance between point A and point B is, of course, a straight line. And why not just cut that distance down wherever you can?
So definitely a lot more action in this one compared to what we saw just a short time ago, as Marini is going to go up high.
Ooh.
I mean, he made it happen. It was aggressive, but it worked.
It was tight, that's for sure. But I mean, if we've learned anything about Mike Marini over the years, he is not afraid to be aggressive in any form. So not surprising at all from the 12, but got to respect it.
So compared to what we saw in duel number 1, duel number 2, we got 2 lines going at here on lap 6. We'll see how long they can keep that going. Macaulay leading the charge down low, and then Marini up high.
Yeah, I wonder if that kind of falls in line with what you were saying earlier, Regan, about the quote-unquote underdog mentality of a lion's share of the field here, maybe willing to take a few more chances and be a little bit more adventurous.
So it continues to be the number 17 Macaulay Racing Chevrolet up from Mason Tomlinson. Tom Janikowski have moved themselves up into the top 3. Marini's still trying to help out up front, that outside line.
Yeah, he's got an opening to go to that lower line if he wants it, though. Significant gap between Jano and Mangrum there on that lower line. But it may have just gotten, swallowed up there potentially.
Mercado dives in front of Ford there. Thromer was thinking of something. Now Magnum's going to go up in front of Marini.
Yeah, you got guys who are... You have a nice mix of aggressive drivers here and guys who are more than willing to play the long game within this particular group of 10, as we've had 3 guys drop off the initial draft. But yeah, within this group of 10, it seems like game on.
Yeah, no. Oh, man.
What were you about to say?
No, it had nothing to do with what was going on here. What I was going to say was talking about those guys towards the back, Cudmore, O'Toole, and Ouellette. Wouldn't surprise me if maybe a bit of a factor in them being back there. I mean, obviously they lost the draft, but at the same time, these guys being aggressive up here, you would maybe be a little bit worried just knowing how the first duel went. Wow, that was quite the bump from behind between Ercolani and Thronberg, as they will drop back towards the back of the outside line.
Well, yeah, it's a 100% fair point that you bring up there, Reese, because, we saw how Duel 1 went, because Andy Hurdle, Charlie Sears, they were shuffled toward the back of the field, and what do you know, Andy Hurdle survives the chaos and takes Duel 1, and with it, the all-important points and P3 on next week's grid. So might not necessarily be the worst thing to be back there. Just make sure you're on the same lap and you're in with a shot.
9 laps completed, 21 more to go. Side by side for the lead. Looks like that outside line was able to make it work there for a couple of seconds.
Oh, I thought they were going
to... Sideways near the wall. Ercolani, he will fall back. So looks like he'll lose the draft. He might have to get back to these guys. That 3-car pack, about over 8 seconds back.
A little bit of a wall ride there from Ercolani might have actually saved him from a worse fate, if we're being completely honest, because ultimately he was just able to keep everything going in the right direction. And yeah, he's kind of in no man's land right now, but if we learned anything from Duel 1, it's not over until the checkered flag waves.
Now, of course, what makes these broadcasts of ours here, especially having since transitioned to the iRacing service a couple of years ago, one of the more important and crucial parts of a broadcast, aside from what we're doing, obviously, right?
Yes.
Camera angles.
Yep.
Absolutely love them here. That's why we got to thank TrackCams22.com for allowing us to use their packages, of course, that we've been using across NASCAR and IndyCar ever since we transitioned over to the iRacing service on the computer. So again, thanks very much to them, of course. And, you know, we do have a crank it up. I think we might as well use it at least once. Hopefully it doesn't jinx anything. Right.
I mean, that's historically how things have gone, but hey, we're in a pack at a super speedway. What's the worst that could happen?
So once again, of course, thank you very much to TrackCams22.com for giving us this this opportunity ever since we transitioned the iRacing service back in Season 4 in 2023.
Yeah.
And of course, to all of our sponsors and partners that help support what we do. Of course, without each and every one of them, we wouldn't be able to be doing what we're doing. Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, GTR Motorsports, Tornado Alley Racing, Nordic Aluminium, Zesty Paws, Amara Parker Racing, and then, of course, Track Games once again. And Repulinks.
Yes, Repulinks, formerly, or at one point known as DAPR, so that's former NASCAR Series driver Darcy Cudmore getting back in the fray there sponsorship-wise, so shout out to you, Ducky, down there in Windsor, Ontario these days.
I wonder if we'll ever get a day ever again where we can have the three Cudmores back together on the track.
Yeah. It would be an interesting day, to be sure.
I mean, you did have it back in, what was it, Season 2?
Yeah, I think, 2 is right, yeah. Meanwhile, we've got our lead group going past the pit window or the pit lap that Duel 1 went through, so not splitting it down the middle.
Yeah,
and a little bit further down the field, you've seen Ercolani get caught up by Cudmore, O'Toole, and Ouellette, so that's a firm group of 4 now trying to catch really what's a lead group of 7, as both Young and Tomlinson have fallen off the lead pace as well.
Yeah, while there's that lead pack of 7 cars together, they will be entering turn 1 here, and then Young and Tomlinson are together, and then you got 4 cars, 10th through 13th. So again, with the last race, you saw most of pretty much everybody except for 3 cars come down around halfway, but maybe these guys are coming up with something different. Maybe trying to pull off something a little bit more unique and, again, different.
Well, if anything, it gives us a better look at what the fuel mileage might look like in a week's time. Again, we noted the different track conditions from day to night, certainly. But at the same time, you're getting a longer run out of this group. So, worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, again, Duel 1 was just over half the race under green, then around that halfway point. A lot of everybody went down pit road, then we had the caution, led us to a 9-lap shootout, and then big wreck on the final lap. Meanwhile, here in Duel 2, as someone filed out a line there along the apron, but gets back in. I think that was Mercado. This time around, we're way past halfway, and these guys still haven't come down pit road.
I was going to say, usually when you go down the yellow line on that back straight, that's the indicator that you are going to pit.
There it is. The entire top 7 goes in, then Young and Tomlinson 8th and 9th. Insert your joke here for a certain someone.
I mean, I'll leave it alone for now.
All right.
Yep. No, we're staying classy here in this duel number 2.
Oh, geez. Did those guys 10th through 13th already come in?
No.
They just came off pit road.
All right, let's do the old scan backwards. Let's just see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they did. Look at that.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, we saw the undercut prove to be pretty powerful. Or, wait. No, that trio that came in a lap later, they actually came out ahead, I think. So, yeah, we'll have to see how this works out.
It's kind of played out back to what we initially had. It's 4 cars together coming to 10 laps to go. That would be Magrum, Marini, McCauley, and Thronberg. Mercado and Ford are together. Janikowski's back on his own, so is Young, Tomlinson. Kind of 2 cars together all the way in the back. So it might be a 4-car dash to the checkered unless someone decides maybe to get a little bit too aggressive.
And on cue, there's Marini right up the back of McCauley here as, again,
that would be Marini, or that'd be Magrum.
Okay, it was a different MA, whatever.
Yes, yes, Marini is into the back of Marini. That makes sense.
Yeah, so, I mean, at least McCauley's also still part of that group, so I'm not that far off, and there is a 1 in the number, but, yeah, we'll get this sorted out ASAP. But the point is, you're seeing Mike Marini start to explore options here, much the same way Will Kern was looking at it in terms of the race leader for the majority of duel number 1.
So yeah, 4 cars together compared to Mercado and Ford. So probably not going to be enough time to catch up. Now with 8 laps to go, it's still Magrum ahead of Marini, Thronberg, McCauley. Was on the outside a lap or 2 ago, and then eventually dipped in behind the 3. So you got 2 year 6 drivers, you got a year 4, and then you got a rookie not perfectly in the middle, but about there.
Yeah, hard to be in the middle when you've only got 4 in the group. The old even number in the middle doesn't necessarily work out.
But you got the 3 in third, so.
You do.
So this is playing out a lot more differently than what we saw back in duel number 1. So right now, provisionally, CD Magrum would be on his way to qualifying 4th for the GTR Daytona 250 next Monday, and then Marini would be 6th, Thronberg 8th, and of course McCauley already has 2nd place locked up from single car qualifying.
Indeed it does.
And then in terms of, oh my,
Whoa.
That was interesting timing to get to those guys.
Yeah, possibly a little bit of extracurriculars there involving Tomlinson and Ercolani, I believe.
It's Young and Tomlinson together, and then Ercolani is leading this kind of a 4-car pack between 10th and 13th.
Too many red cars.
Yeah. So right now, it looks like these 4 are going to be fighting for like that one singular championship point.
I mean, it's better than not fighting for anything at all. So you gotta stay in it as long as you possibly can. And the fact that everyone's kept everything clean to this point, knock on wood, just get those 75 miles in and see how things shake out going into next week.
And so Janikowski was all on his own. Young and Tomlinson will jump him.
Yeah, on these super speedway configurations, the numbers game is always going to win out. So yeah, Janikowski was always going to be, ripe for the picking there once those two came up on him.
So again, we got three guys battling it out for those front 3 odd number positions for next Monday's starting lineup, and then McCauley just trying to walk out of here with some good championship points, and then you got the guys back here duking it out for just 1 point. So a lot of different dynamics going on. 5 laps to go. Again, we didn't see until the final lap of duel number 1. Even though that was a whole 8 or 9 cars together going for the win, still saw them making their moves, and then carnage happened. This time around with only 4 cars. Again, it's a different quantity, but don't underestimate it.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's a switch that flips as soon as you get into, anywhere in the vicinity of the white flag. That aggression knob just gets turned up to 11, and all bets are off at that point.
So that's still Mercado ahead of Ford for 5th. 3-car pack for battling for 7th. It's now 2 cars going at it for 10th as O'Toole and Ouellette have fallen back together in 12th and 13th. Lead pack coming around for 3 to go.
Yeah, they're 90% of the way there. Just got to close the deal here now.
Again, Magram, a former winner and pole sitter in the same year at Talladega, still has yet to pick up something at Daytona, despite a couple podium finishes and top 5 finishes. If we do count this race unofficially, then trying to go for it here, but Thronberg and McCauley working together. They jump Marini. Magram stays ahead as Magram leaves the inside open for the 3. 17 follows suit. Marini falling back.
Yeah, Marini just desperately trying to stay with this trio here now.
So does Thronberg potentially go back-to-back if we count the preseason test races? Or does Corbin McCauley potentially steal one for unofficially his first ever win at Daytona in the series?
Well, you have all 4 guys back together now, so
oh boy,
don't discount the other M&M on the outside, Magram and Marini. McCauley certainly hasn't.
Yeah, Thronberg blocks as Magram and Marini try to work together. There's the crossover. Magram to the inside. Marini follows suit. McCauley staying down low behind these 3. Thronberg up high. They'll be coming to the white flag. Marini aggressive behind Magram, giving him a lot of pushing and shoving. McCauley goes up high. We might be double file for both positions if they can get the run. On the high side, they will white flag.
Yeah, I think it was smart for Corbin McCauley to stay back from that initial battle you were seeing between the other 3.
McCauley might have gotten the wall.
Yeah, I think I saw definitely some contact there in one, but it doesn't look like it's hindered him all that much as we see some side drafting happening at the front of this quartet.
Marini will give Magrum the bump right along the right rear quarter panel, almost on the left rear Macaulay. 3 cars on the inside, Macaulay up high. 17 will drop back. Thronberg leading off of 4. Magrum's going to make the move. Oh, and he gets turned with Marini. They save it.
Oh,
but
man.
to the line, the rookie goes to victory lane, Blake Thronberg.
Watch the throne, boys. The number 3 is proving he's for real here.
So how about that? This could be our next coming of the E-Motorsports Network Intimidator.
I mean,
In the number 3, fittingly. How about that for Blake Thronberg?
yeah, I mean, fantastic way to make an opening impression. I mean, we talked about him not necessarily having the greatest qualifying slot, but he found himself there at the end. And, you know, kudos to the 3. He's gotten the job done, and he is going to have a fantastic starting spot here next week. Not to mention 10 points.
Absolutely, as you see the winner graphic up there, congratulations to the 3 of Blake Thronberg out of Graham, North Carolina for Back Row Motorsports.
There we go.
Top 3 will line up at the start-finish line. Yeah, sure, go on the apron. That works. Okay, he's trying.
Yeah, give her a go. Why not?
Anyway. Yeah, Jordy, a lot different, but dynamic compared to what we saw in Duel number 1. We did get some form of an incident, but still not as much carnage as cars slamming the outside and inside walls.
Hey, I don't think anyone's going to object necessarily because, you know, we still got some great racing there toward the end.
So the big question now after what we just saw there, is Blake Thronberg the real deal? He's certainly looking like he has that potential to, I don't know if we would say on par with someone like a Jordan Kalinian from last season, but you never know. Again, it's all going to start next Monday night with the 6th annual GTR Daytona 250. If he, man, oh man, imagine 3 weekends in a row, 3 wins. Obviously, one of them would be absolutely official, but I mean, hey, like, official-wise, 3rd time's the charm if that applies with the number 3 car fittingly. Like,
I mean, he's certainly made his presence felt here in the early going. So first impressions count for a lot, and I've got no reason to doubt Blake Thronberg here right now, but we'll see how things go once we get to the real deal.
so here are your unofficial results for GTR Duel Daytona race number 2. Blake Thronberg getting the win. He will qualify 4th for next Monday's first round of Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. If you take Macaulay out of the occasion, because he's already qualified 2nd from single car qualifying, everyone else that you see here are just some of the many names that will fill out the rest of the outside line positions. So Mike Marini rounding at the podium in this race, but he is going to qualify 6th. Then C.D. Mangrum, Darcy Ford running at the top 5 for this race. Mercado, Tomlinson, Janikowski, Young, and then Mario Ercolini rounding out the top 10 and all the drivers that will get at least 1 point towards the championship. And then to round out the field, Daniel Cudmore, Ryan O'Toole, and Mark Ouellette for 13 cars that participated in GTR Duel Daytona race number 2.
Yeah, and I think we've got some compelling stories from top to bottom on next week's grid once everything gets finalized here. So I think we're in for a rather compelling season opener, which, I mean, we'd expect nothing less from Daytona at this point.
Indeed. So that's all the action here for tonight to set the starting lineup for next Monday's GTR Daytona 250. So, single car qualifying, Adam Wilson, Corbin McCauley lock in on the front row. Wilson with his first career GTR Daytona 250 pole and first ever pole at a super speedway. And then Corbin McCauley, second place, looking to go also, along with Wilson, looking to get that first career GTR Daytona 250 win and looking to become another different winner of the prestigious race. And then, of course, we just had the two 30-lap dual races to set the inside line and the outside line, at least the rest of them from between or behind first and second place. And so, of course, stay tuned to our social media pages where we will have our official starting lineup for next Monday revealed and confirmed. But yeah, Jordy, some nice little qualifying here tonight between, the one lap per car, and then we had the dual races with quite the different dynamics between the two of them, and we have set the stage for, as you said, will no doubt could very well be our biggest season opener GTR Daytona 250 that we have ever had, especially if we can have all 26 drivers who commit, all of them committed here tonight, commit as well next Monday.
Yeah, I mean, for those who are fans of the Toronto Blue Jays, you'll remember Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a couple of years ago talking about their season, saying last year was the trailer, the movie's coming soon. Tonight was the trailer for season 6.
Yes, sir.
We're getting into some best picture categories here soon, and I think it's gonna be kind of hopping right off the get-go.
Absolutely, and we cannot wait to get started with Season 6 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. Again, officially, we unofficially began tonight, but officially the season and the championship, the 6th Annual Earl Ross Cup, gets underway next Monday, April 21st at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Atlantic. We will be live here on the E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you will be notified when we do go live next Monday and for every other Monday from here until September, obviously with a couple of breaks. But Jordy, to start all off, the 6th Annual GTR Daytona 250, the great American race, and then for many weeks onward from, as I said, from now until September, Season 6 with these 26 cars and stars. Are you ready?
I mean, I think we were ready last week. I don't know if I necessarily want to wait, but we have to. Let's just go forward and let's get to next Tuesday or Monday. Jeez, Monday.
You join me. I started the night with the mistake. You ended with it.
Yep.
So anyways, yes, that will be what we have here on our YouTube channel Monday night. We will get straight into it, obviously. We already did all of our qualifying here tonight. We get straight to racing at the Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida for the 6th Annual GTR Daytona 250. So on behalf of everybody involved here within the network, we will see you all back here on the YouTube channel on Monday night, April 21st, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Atlantic. That was Jordy Kerher. My name is Regan McCauley. Have a good night and see you next Monday.